Drawing hair. It's one of the main pain points for artists because drawing the hair is so difficult. It's so hard to draw because it behaves kind of like a liquid. It's always moving and changing, so it's hard to pin it down. But if you imagine hair as one solid structure that you can divide up, then it becomes so much easier to manage and draw. The head gives the hair its structure, thus determining how the hair looks. Remember, the hair sits on top of the head and takes whatever shape the head has. At this point, don't worry too much about any details. Just think of the head and the hair as one solid structure that you can work with. let's move on to the shape of the hair. At this stage of the drawing, you want to lay out how the hair is going to stack. What I mean by this, hair grows in different layers, so it's important to capture that in your drawing. Hair grows in clumps. It's important to remember this. Instead of thinking of the hair as individual strands, think of the hair as groups of clumps on different layers. Kind of think of them as like their own individual little forms. There's usually a big one and then some smaller ones that complement that big one. Start with the overall shape of the hair. Next, move on to the base layer of the hair. Think of each clump of hair as its own structure that has weight, form, and it interacts with light slightly differently depending on where the light source is coming from. Clumps of hair stacked on top of each other are what gives hair its volume. Layers on top of layers. The more layers that hair has, the more voluminous it will look, and it'll also mean it'll interact differently with light as well. And then once you've gotten all of that, it's time to put it together, or pull it together rather, with light and details. The final stage of the drawing, light and details. These two are added together because they work together. Light shows the little details of the hair like the individual strands. Light hits those strands, making them more visible than the rest of the hair. Think of it, remember back when we said it was each clumps of hair is like a form? So yeah, each of that, they're gonna interact with light slightly differently. When adding light to any surface, you have to take into consideration the texture and material of the surface. This means different hair types will look different under the same lighting, right? So coarse hair versus fine hair versus curly hair will all look slightly different depending on they'll all look different under the same lighting because they're just different types of hair. For instance, curly hair will reflect light differently than straight thin hair.